Sylvia was there, her heart pounding as she looked at the old woman huddled in the corner of that old bus stop. The pouring rain, the freezing wind, and that woman, fragile and unprotected, were too strong a call for Sylvia's heart, which felt a deep grip growing inside her. How could he leave her there, at the mercy of the elements? Before you find out what Sylvia will decide to do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future stories. But now, enjoy. Sylvia was a 13-year-old girl, an age when emotions are stronger than ever and everything seems insurmountable. Since her mother left, her life had changed radically. Her father, Michael, a quiet, work-absorbed man, seemed unable to pay attention to her anymore. The only thing that mattered to him was keeping a roof over Sylvia's head and paying the bills. But for Sylvia, this wasn't enough. What she really wanted was a present father, someone who would listen to her, who would make her feel that she was important. The distance between them grew every day, and that evening, after yet another argument, Sylvia felt completely invisible. The harsh words that had escaped her lips still echoed in her mind as she hastily packed her few belongings into a backpack. Maybe I should go away. Maybe I should run away and never come back, she had shouted angrily. But her pain was real. And so, without thinking twice, she had decided to really leave. But her pain was real. And so, without thinking twice, she had decided to really leave. The night was cold, and the wind whipped her face as she walked quickly through the streets of Monteverde, the small town where she lived. She had no specific destination. She just wanted to get away from the sense of emptiness she felt at home. After a few minutes, she found herself in a small park, the streetlights flickering dimly in the night, and the only sound was that of her footsteps. When the rain began to fall harder, Sylvia had sought shelter, finding an old bus stop. She had curled up there, seeking warmth in her coat that was too light for that autumn cold. But she wasn't alone. In the opposite corner, sitting on a rickety bench, was an old woman. She was shaking, wearing only rags and an old bag at her side. Their eyes met for a moment, and in that moment, something inside Sylvia moved. The woman, Teresa, had smiled sweetly at her, despite her obvious pain. "What's a young woman like you doing out here in the middle of a storm?" she had asked in a gentle voice. That sentence had struck Sylvia, awakening something deep in her. Teresa was there in a state of extreme need, yet her words were full of care. Sylvia hadn't responded right away, the weight of her tears blurring her vision. She didn't know what to say because everything she felt seemed too big to explain. But she knew one thing. She couldn't leave that woman alone. "Come with me," he had said, with a determination he didn't know he had. "Let's go to my house, it's nearby." Teresa, struck by the kindness of that young stranger, had accepted without hesitation. The two had walked side by side in the rain, and as they approached Sylvia's house, the girl's heart was beating faster and faster. She knew her father would be furious. After all, she had just run away from home, and now she was taking a strange woman with her. But she felt a greater duty. She had to help Teresa. As soon as they entered the silent and warm house, Sylvia sat Teresa down in front of the fireplace. She ran to the kitchen to prepare something hot, trying to remain calm despite the anxiety that was growing inside her. Meanwhile, Michael, unaware of everything, had gone up to Sylvia's room, only to find the bed empty and the window open. Panic had gripped him. He had rushed out to look for his daughter, but he didn't know where she had gone. When he returned, he found her in the kitchen, soaking wet, and with a look of regret, relief quickly giving way to anger. But he couldn't believe that Sylvia had brought a stranger into the house. "Are you crazy?" he shouted at her, overcome with fear and frustration. At that moment, Sylvia's heart tightened. She just wanted to help Teresa. She couldn't understand how her father couldn't see the woman's desperation. But Michael couldn't look beyond her worry. "You can't bring strangers into your house," he kept repeating, unable to calm down. If you like the story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your support. But just then, something unexpected happened. As Teresa slowly rose to leave, apologizing for the disturbance, Michael froze. Her soft voice, the way she moved. There was something familiar about her. "Teresa?" he whispered in disbelief. A flash of recognition crossed his eyes. This woman was not a stranger. She was his old neighbor, the one who had looked after him as a child, when his parents were never there. A mother figure who had meant everything to him in a now forgotten past. Michael's heart filled with regrets and memories. How could he not recognize her right away? Teresa, who had always had a special place in his heart, was there in front of him, alone and needy. Tears filled his face as pieces of his past came flooding back to him. He realized he was repeating his parents' mistakes, ignoring his daughter's needs just as they had done to him. Teresa, with her calm and kindness, began to tell her story. She had lost everything and had been in that situation for a few days. Michael listened with a heavy heart, realizing how much he had changed over time, how far he had distanced himself from the people he loved. It was as if a light had gone on in his mind. He couldn't continue to be a distant father. He had to change, for his daughter and for himself. At that moment, he made a promise to himself. He would be there for Sylvia. He would be the father she deserved. And for Teresa, he would do everything he could to help her. And so finally, the man opened up to his daughter Sylvia, sharing with her the memories of his past and the pain he had hidden for years. He asked for forgiveness for having neglected her, promising her that things would change. In the meantime, Teresa would no longer be alone.